Hey guys, I'm Chris with Jawless Hog Tactical.
And I'm Nick. Today we're going to talk about the 7 deadly mistakes in CQB environments. Today we're going to talk about the fatal funnel and entries into rooms. As you can see, I'm standing in the fatal funnel, and guess what? I'm not dead. Now, with that being said, I understand I'm not taking rounds and I'm in a very clear room. We're going to talk about the differences and how it's kind of misconstrued of what the fatal funnel actually is. The fatal funnel is simply nothing more than an entryway into a room, entryway into a hallway, a primary entry point into a house. So, dynamic entry teaches you that the fatal funnel is speed, surprise, violence of action. Push, 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 push. Get through the doorway, get through the doorway, get through the doorway. If you don't, you die. And from a military concept, right, I can understand that to a certain extent because you may encounter PKMs, RPKs, small arms fire on a larger scale coming at that doorway because of the prep for an entry, right? But for what we're doing in the law enforcement community or everyday civilians, think about what you're doing. You're doing CQB where? Like you're not wearing full kit when something goes bump in the night. You're grabbing whatever your home defense weapon system is and you're clearing your house. Your CQB environment is going to be your home. So with limited penetration style movements in our active clearing tactic, what we're going to show you how to do is to limit your exposure and how to work that fatal funnel, so to speak, or the doorway to your advantage. Now, can the fatal funnel be fatal on both someone entering your room or somebody occupying the room? Yeah, absolutely can. That's where training comes in, and you got to try to minimize those mistakes. So what we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to use natural constructions of buildings and structures, and we're going to teach you how to take angles. And we're going to teach you how to work this doorway from outside of the room to put you in a better position to be able to observe that room and taking it piece at a time and allowing you to process that information, allowing you to make the decision to act, whether that be shoot, whether that be give commands, whatever the situation may be. So as we run through our course, we're going to teach you how to segment and search this room, taking it and using this and giving limited exposure to your body as we take parts of the room as we work, compared to dumping right in here. So we want to be able to work this room here, here, and then here. And that also allows for some human behavior aspect to come into play. Startle, flinch, startle, recovery. Think about that. You're walking through something in the middle of the night, or you get up in the middle of the night to go use the bathroom, get something out of your refrigerator, your kid walks in, dog barks, and it kind of catches you off guard. CQB is kind of the same way. If you're running into a room and you take fire, your natural human response is self-preservation. So you can flinch, but problem is once you've dumped in, there's nothing to flinch to. There's no cover. There's no concealment. Compared to working these angles and taking away that problem and mitigating that threat from the fatal funnel, if I catch something here or I hit a corner and the guy's gun up, I can come here. And rifle's the same principle. Working from here is my round ballistically less effective from here if I'm engaging something in that corner compared to here. The ballistic capabilities aren't changing on whatever my weapon system of choice is for self-defense.
Hey, we're going to be going over the startle, flinch, startle, recovery. The reason why it's one of the deadly errors in CQB is because if you go back to the same place twice, it could be bad going. That links back with that fatal funnel aspect. So the startle, flinch is when you're doing your flavor of room clearing tactic. If you come across something in that room that frightens you, your body, your natural body positioning is you're going to freeze and flinch and get off that line. The question is what you're going to do after that. You need to evaluate what's going on in that room and if it's worth to you to go into that space. If you don't feel like you need to go in that space, back out. As a civilian, maybe call 911. If you're a law enforcement person, there may be a reason you need to go. And we can't go to the same place twice, because if we go to the same place twice, that bad guy may be expecting us to do that. So we're going to have to do something different. By doing something different means you might need to go low and get to a knee, or maybe you have to do some form of dynamic entering going into the room. That's your particular choice. The startle flinch, that physiological effect that you get is like when a deer runs out in front of your car while you're driving down the street and your whole body gets that tingling effect. That's what this Startle Flinch is in a CQB environment. And this is sort of how this would look. I'm going to demo Startle flinching, and then I'm going to go ahead and recover. See something that I Startle flinch, I'm going to get off the X. For whatever reason, I'm deciding that I'm going to go ahead and try to address that, whatever was in there. Maybe that person even left. So I'm going to go low and see if I have anything. If there's nothing there, I'm going to continue through the tactics. That would be Startle Flinch and Startle Recovery.
Today we're going to talk about one of the other deadly errors in CQB, which is target lock. It goes back into the limited penetration style movement that we're teaching and the tactics that JHT is teaching to help mitigate that target lock style. So how that can be a deadly error is when you're talking about speed and pushing through the doorway. The problem is, as you know, civilian and law enforcement who don't have the countless hours in shoot house, don't have the countless hours of processing information and moving fluently and fluid at a dynamic entry point, as they're making their way through the threshold or through the fatal funnel and they pick something up in that room, they'll target lock and freeze, which does now create a fatal funnel because now they're in that cone of all fire coming towards that doorway. And if you're working in a team setting, now you've clogged your team up and they can't get in to assist you. So they'll pick up, whether it be looking at a gun, whether it be dead space, or whether it be a person, whether they're an unarmed combatant or a combatant, and they'll freeze here to go to engage instead to continue like you see anybody in a shoot house doing and moving, right? Because in the real world, we have stimulus. We have rounds that can go both ways. So we actually have to adapt to what we're seeing. It's not paper targets, and it's not something that we know we're not going to encounter a life-threatening situation. So what we want to try to avoid is that target lock. Target lock gets us here, stops us in the threshold, stops us in that fatal funnel aspect as we're picking them up, clogs up our team, and keeps us from being able to move or shift. So how we're going to avoid that and how we're going to remedy that is by using that limited penetration style technique, working our angles and segmented search in the room. So that keeps us from, if we start to take angles and take pieces of this room as we're clearing and we catch something, we still have some kind of cover and or concealment, depending on the construction of the structure you're working, that we can pick that up now, and that gives us a better position and some kind of cover and or concealment, which allows us to process that information and get to that higher brain level faster in the behavioral process of humans. So that gives us that little bit of a cutting edge in CQB, and it helps to eliminate that target threat, or I'm sorry, that target lock and stopping right there in the funnel.
We're going to be going over outrunning your headlights. Outrunning your headlights is moving way faster than your mind can process any information coming in. In order for your mind to process that information, you need to be able to see it. The OODA loop from Lieutenant Colonel Boyd talked about all that stuff: observe, orient, decide, and act. We need to be able to do all that stuff efficiently. The only way you can do that efficiently is through a lot of training and working at a pace that you can move that is smooth. I don't want to say fast, but smooth. And imagine being so focused on an area that your vision starts to suck in and you start missing everything off your peripherals. So in order to do this, we want to get good reps, slow down and work at a pace that we can work. And then as we get more repetitions doing something, we get smooth. And then once we get smooth, we can start speeding up that speed. Again, we don't want to outrun our headlights. Work at whatever pace you feel comfortable with. We're going to be covering re-entry to a hallway and why it can be deadly. The deadly reason is because when you just step out there, you don't know what you haven't cleared yet. And how we're going to try to achieve this is we want to prep ourselves to use this form of cover and concealment along with whatever type of body armor we might be wearing to help protect us to check this unknown area going that way. This is assuming we came from the hallway that way and we are working ourselves this way. So could somebody do a ninja move and come up behind us? The answer is yes, they could. The probability is slim. So we are going to handle the unknown first. We're going to check back behind us. If there's a threat behind us, we will startle flinch into the room. But we also have the ability to startle flinch into the room if we take this piece, see something we don't like and it's dangerous to us, and press back into the room. So this is how this will look. We will prep ourselves to work this threshold. As I work this threshold, I will look toward my unknown, and then I'm going to shoulder check back behind me. If everything is clear, I will step out into the hall and then move on to my next piece of cover concealment and or unknown threat area. That's re-entering the hallway.
So we're going to talk about clearing with your eyes and not with your muzzle. It's one of the 7 deadly errors in CQB. And keep in mind, when we talk about deadly errors in CQB, we don't just mean the loss of your life. We mean mistaking a target, shooting the wrong person, putting rounds through a structure, hitting somebody on the other side of the wall, some kind of mistake that, puts you in a bad position. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to die by making this error, by this mistake happen, but it puts you in a position of disadvantage, or it causes you to engage the wrong person. So when we talk about clearing the corners or clearing your sector of fire, so to speak, with your muzzle, you don't actually clear something with your firearm or whatever weapon system you're running. You clear it with your eyes. So what I mean by that, and there's 2 thought processes on this, and we'll talk a little bit about both of them, and then we'll talk about the one that we actually prefer and teach based on the law enforcement civilian world. So what I talk about is, it doesn't matter what type of CQB entry you're running, whether you're running the old school full dynamic, running through the room with your hair on fire, crisscross button hooks, digging your quarter 12 inches off the wall, sweeping your sector of fire, or if you're running the limited penetration style movements where you're working from the threshold. What I mean by that is, if I'm running the old school CQB style, crisscross button hook, whether I've done a threshold assessment and now I'm doing a crisscross entry, as I'm coming through here, you'll see guys, and as they come through here, they've already cleared that hard corner, regardless of how far it goes along, unless there's defilade or dead space there that they have to clear. But they've already cleared that hard corner. And instead of sweeping the muzzle to pick up whatever else in the room they need to cover, they'll still dig that muzzle and run that corner all the way at the muzzle end. Well, you clear with your eyes, not with your muzzle. So once you've cleared that with your eyes, there's no reason to keep that muzzle in that corner unless there's something else there that may need addressed, engaged, or covered down with your weapon system. Same principle if you're doing it the way we teach, which is the limited penetration style CQB movement. Once I'm coming here and I've cleared it with my eyes, I don't need to go muzzle up to clear it. I can see that that's clear. I have nothing there that I need to engage. I have no dead space. So now I can work to my next angle, and I can snap here, and I can clear that long corner or hard corner there. I don't have to go muzzle up to clear that. And one of the things we'll teach in team setting is nonverbal communication. So muzzle fully presented in a law enforcement is a verbal communication of, I have something, an unknown, a threat, I'm covering down on something. Same principle applies in the military. So for the military and CQB settings, you're on your sights. You're here because of rules of engagement. Military age fighting males are engageable in combat operations, etc. So you'll see military CQB in the dynamic here on their sights. They're coming through, collapsing the gun, driving the gun, and they're running on their sights. The way we teach with our limited penetration style movement is off of your sights. In the LE world, we have to control hands, we have to control waist. A gun sitting beside somebody for the law enforcement side is not an authorization for an engagement. Same thing with the civilian side. You have to be able to articulate, even in the self-defense shooting, why you just did what you did. So if I'm coming in from here and I'm clearing in the limited penetration style movement, I'm going to be here. I want to be able to see everything, and if I have to take that shot, I'm snapping to it. And that's where working your weapons manipulation and doing your up drills will come in and get in that speed and that process of information. But again, that deadly error is orienting the muzzle into a place the muzzle doesn't need to be once I've cleared it with my eyes.
We're going to be covering angles and why they could be a deadly mistake. Here at Jawless Hog, we're going to show you how you can use angles to your advantage and start minimizing your exposure while using angles and your weapons to point your body in a direction to be safer and to be a better, effective room clearing person. The reason why there could be an error is because a lot of individuals will come into rooms and they're either going straight, hitting a hard wall, which gives them exposure to this wall. If you look at this door right here, if I'm doing a single person room clearing tactic based on just some methods, depending on what method it is, if I make a decision to go there because I don't know that other room exists, I'm coming straight, which gives me a lot of exposure. Obviously, that's one way. Another way that some other people commonly use is crossing into a room or button hooking. So if I button hook into the room, yes, I'm covered there. However, I could be exposed at another angle. What we're trying to eliminate is that angle of exposure and set ourselves up to be more successful. So once again, we're going to use this door frame as a covering concealment piece. We want our body to always face the direction that we want to work from. So my feet are facing forward, my hips are facing forward, my body's facing forward. If I have my gun out, I am facing my gun the way my entire body is facing. So if I'm working this threshold, I will take a piece, cover down on it, set myself to take this piece, and I'm covering that. I didn't expose myself to any of that. If there is something bad happening, once again, that startle flinch could come into play. I can push back behind cover, assess the need to even go into the room. If I work this other threshold, the process remains the same. I hit one spot, I hit my next spot, and I keep on working this threshold to help protect me. I keep on working it. My exposure, my body is always facing my threat. I'm not facing this way, and the threat, once again, is that open door because for whatever reason, I didn't see that. That's your little spiel on angles.